Over the last several months, KHOU 11 brought you numerous stories for this election, from voting equipment to key races and propositions to expect on the ballot. Let's take a look back at some of those stories now.
For an election in the nation's third largest county,
it's literally tedious work.
Harris County Clerk Tanisha Hudspeth discussing the state-mandated logic and accuracy testing, people testing machines, reviewing the details of ballots for thousands of Harris County voters.
So it's a very strategic point where we test out the language, even the audio of the language on the ballots.
The voters that are doing the logic and accuracy testing on these machines are from all across Harris County and from all across political backgrounds to ensure the testing is fair and accurate.
Maybe party affiliated, some are Democrats, some are Republicans, some are independents.
Harris County has several key races headlined by the special election for Congressional District 18. Given the scrutiny of election integrity, Hudspeth hopes the testing happening now is a sign of transparency.
When it comes to Harris County, we mean business, right? And we mean the right business. That is making sure we service voters, all voters, no matter your political perspective or your thoughts. We service all voters with efficiency, safe, and fair elections here in Harris County.
I happen to be standing in Congressional District 18, where I interviewed the Harris County Clerk a short time ago. Her office is clearing up confusion when it comes to this election and what's to come. A special election in Congressional District 18 may be daunting enough for voters, with 16 candidates from multiple parties in the race, including current frontrunners Amanda Edwards, Christian Menifee, and Jolanda Jones.
It's a lot of names on there, of course, but I did my homework before I got here, so I was had pretty much made up my mind who I was choosing.
Further complicating things are potential boundary changes thanks to recent redistricting by the Texas legislature, something many voters may already think are in place.
A lot of voters think, hey, the new lines have been drawn. Am I still in that district?
Harris County Clerk Tanisha Hudspeth, who oversees elections, tells me her office has gotten constant calls.
Right now, if you've always been in Congressional District 18 and you've registered and been in that district, you will still be in that district for this November. In any potential runoff, the lines will not change until the midterms in 2026.
So the current map applies for this November's special election next Tuesday and the potential runoff in January. But if the new map is upheld in court, it will apply to the primary election next March and general election in November of 2026.
There are a lot of moving parts here.
Rice University political science professor Mark Jones says it may get even more complicated next year. But for now,
my recommendation to voters is to forget about redistricting, to forget about the 2026 primaries, and focus on the election they have in front of them, and that is who is going to complete the remainder of Sylvester Turner's term in office that runs through January of 2027.
I mentioned 16 candidates in this congressional special election. There's also a Houston City Council at-large seat special election. That race has 15 candidates. Reporting from downtown Houston, Jason Miles, KHOU 11 News.
It's a big system, and you're going to have glitches.
Harris County officials say a software update to the Secretary of State's voter registration system is the biggest issue causing a delay in registrations being finalized.
The main one that we were dealing with was just a backlog of pending state verifications to make sure that everybody who had registered to vote prior to October 6th actually is going to be registered and an active voter.
But the Secretary of State's office points to the fact that Harris County and several other counties in Texas used a third-party vendor for registration, which doesn't operate anymore. They say in a statement, quote, because Harris County is an offline county, the automated verification process, which rarely takes more than 24 hours, doesn't begin until the county completes a manual batch upload of multiple records.
Harris County's always been on a different system.
Despite the challenges, progress is being made. The number of voter registrations needing to be finalized in Harris County dropped from nearly 30,000 2 weeks ago to under 1,000 by this afternoon.
Is the hope to have everything resolved before early voting starts on Monday?
Absolutely. Our goal is to make sure that when our voters show up that there is no impediment to voting, and we're confident that that number is going to be down to 0 by Monday morning.
Fort Bend County officials who say their unprocessed voter registrations went from 40,000 to around 600 as of this afternoon are not as confident, but still hopeful.
And by the end of the day, those may be cleared up, or they may be cleared up by Monday, or they may not. It's sort of a moving target.
What's your message to voters right now?
If you've registered and you did so by the cutoff date, you should go vote. If for some reason they're not in our poll books, if they're not in the system, they'll be offered a provisional ballot.
We showed people how easy it is to check their voter registration status online. Just click the link on the Secretary of State's website, fill out your info, and if your status is active, you're good to go.
Just being able to check it is pretty easy, and knowing if I'm registered or not, especially how important it is.
And for those still in limbo,
Yeah, I'm hoping they can figure it out.
We're told a few thousand people have already cast ballots this morning, and poll workers are hard at work. We're told thousands help get this job done, and it's important as voters have some big decisions to make. Early reports about delays in getting voter registration verified so far hasn't shown any impact at polls in Harris County. That's according to the county clerk. But workers are keeping watch. However, the county clerk says during this general and special election, there are a lot of things voters will need to decide, starting with 17 state constitutional amendments. A City of Houston at-large position 4, local offices, school board positions, municipalities, and even college trustees. Voters will also be left to decide who will finish out the term for District 18. It's a special election to fill the late Congressman Sylvester Turner's seat. He died back in March, shortly after winning the late Sheila Jackson Lee's seat. Voters should know the newly drawn district maps will not factor into this election cycle. The county clerk says with so much on the ballot, you are allowed to take a piece of paper with notes to help you when you vote.
In odd years in the state of Texas, there are always state constitutional amendments. You can guarantee yourself that those state constitutional amendments is going to have something to do with your taxpayer dollars, right? Whether it's property taxes, homestead exemptions. There are many items on those state constitutional amendments that have to do with schools and how we operate in everyday life. So again, those state constitutional amendments, although they can be long and reading and understanding, make sure you know what for or against truly means.
The 70 early voting polls around the county are open every day from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. except on Sunday when they open at noon. Reporting in North Harris County, Katira Winfrey, KHOU 11 News.
Texans will vote on 17 constitutional amendments that could impact taxes, schools, and health care, and we are breaking them down one by one, starting today with Proposition 1. This would create a permanent fund for the Texas State Technical College in Fort Bend County because the school can't issue bonds like other community colleges can. Upgrades and repairs have been stalled. Now, if approved, the fund would modernize facilities and expand workforce training. Supporters say that it helps close the state's skills gap. Critics say it limits spending oversight.
And Proposition 2 would ban a state tax on capital gains. That means the state could not tax profits or potential profits from investments, real estate, or valuable items. It would also remove the franchise tax on business trust. That's roughly $152,000 the state won't collect annually. And supporters say it reinforces Texas's 2019 income tax ban and protects the state's economic competitiveness. Critics worry, though, that it could reduce revenue for schools and other state services.
Bail reform has been a priority at the state capitol for the last 6 years.
Violent repeat offenders continually being released on low bail to only recommit in our communities.
This session, a bipartisan push got several of those bills to the governor's desk.
Lives are going to be saved.
One of them requires voter approval.
We kind of became like the torchbearer for pushing this forward.
Crime Stoppers asking Texans to vote yes on Prop 3. It would allow judges to deny bail for people accused of specific violent felonies, things like murder, aggravated sexual assault, or kidnapping. Crime victims advocate Andy Kahn says Harris County has seen what happens when judges don't have that power far too often.
Over 200 people that have been murdered by defendants released on multiple felony bonds and or PR bonds. Some of those, I am certain that if we went back in time, if Prop 3 would have passed, the judge would have denied bond at the time, and those people would be walking around alive today.
One of those victims, 71-year-old Marta Medina, killed in a McDonald's parking lot during a violent purse snatching. The now convicted killer was out on a bond for another capital murder at that time.
Despite multiple stints in Texas Department of Criminal Justice, the judge gave him a bond. Prop 3 would basically say, you don't have to do that.
Bottom line, do you feel like if it passes, that Prop 3 makes Harris County, makes Texas safer?
Absolutely, 100%.
Civil rights groups want Texans to vote no.
Pretrial liberty should be the norm. We are going to make pretrial detention the norm with no significant, meaningful impact on public safety.
Chris Gundu with the Texas Jail Project warns an already overcrowded Harris County jail will only get worse if Prop 3 passes.
Changing the Constitution is a huge step forward that we cannot come back from. And the immediate impact of that is going to be a massive expansion in pretrial detention.
Prop 4 may sound dry, but it's one of the ballot measures that could impact every Texan. Here's the actual language you'll see on Election Day. Basically, you'll vote for or against pumping billions of dollars into the Texas Water Fund. And here's why all of this matters. State leaders warn Texas is running out of water. Population is booming, demand is up, and our infrastructure is aging fast. Some officials fear that by 2030, if a major drought hits, the state's municipal water supply could struggle to meet demand. Now, Prop 4 aims to change all that. A yes vote would dedicate $1 billion in sales and use tax revenue, all of this starting in 2027. It would help fund $20 billion worth of water projects over the next 2 decades. Now, the money would help develop new water sources, repair aging pipes and treatment plants, improve flood control, and support conservation efforts. Here in Houston, the need is especially urgent. The city loses an estimated 32 billion gallons of water a year to old, leaky infrastructure. The Texas Water Development Board would oversee the use of these funds, and Houston is expected to compete for a significant share. It's important to note this: it will not increase any of your taxes. Ultimately, though, the decision is yours come November.
Proposition 6 would ban new state taxes on securities transactions. That means Texas couldn't tax stock trades or those who work in financial institutions, brokers, and dealers. The proposal was prompted by a new Texas stock exchange that is planned, and it aims to protect investments, including retirement accounts and pensions. Supporters say it safeguards Texas investors and encourages financial growth. Critics argue the state could miss out on potential revenue if taxes on those transactions was needed in the future.
At the state capitol in Austin, finding consensus isn't always easy.
I've passed a lot of bills. I've never had more positive response from people on anything I've ever offered up.
But fighting dementia,
This can strike anyone, anywhere.
Isn't partisan.
You ask, what happens to a family member dealing with dementia? That's what happens. Every time they see them, they realize, I've lost them.
This session, we saw Republicans and Democrats come together to pass SB 5.
This ain't throwing money away. This is giving the people back their money in a way that will save lives.
Members voted. The measure lost only 21 votes across both chambers. It created the Dementia Prevention and Research Institute of Texas, a historic, never-before-seen investment of $3 billion in dementia research over 10 years.
We have some of the finest hospitals and finest doctors and researchers in the world now. Why not expand and try to tackle this terrible, terrible disease?
What happens next is up to you. If Texas voters vote yes on Prop 14, DPRIT can move forward and become reality.
I think people will support it because I think people understand it. The personal stories that you hear once a parent or a grandparent no longer knows who their own children are. If this disease strikes your family, it will be devastating.
If Prop 14 is approved, Texas set to become the national leader in dementia research. Houston likely to benefit from a large part of those funds as researchers work to find more treatments and ultimately a cure.
Is this hope for families?
Well, I think it is. That's why I'm asking them to support